So in the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson has become prime minister. We're going to be covering this a lot more in the coming months because it's very important that Jeremy Corbyn and a Labour Party government take power there. As I always say, look, you cannot deny in any analysis that doesn't acknowledge that Brexit is a crisis is deluding yourself. It's central to UK politics. But it's also the reality that thousands of people have died because of austerity. And the austerity path implemented for the past, I think, almost 10 years by Tory party governments have destroyed tens of thousands of people's lives, caused many deaths, massively increased inequality. Boris Johnson is, I see why people are drawing the Trump analogy. And if we take the lens out, there is this tendency. There is this far-right buffoon tendency. They have different styles. There's different emphasis. We have the racism and thuggery of the slumlord trust fund baby in Donald Trump. Jair Bolsonaro is absolutely stupid and clownish. Between he and Sergio Moro as the corrupt judge that made Lula, that the whole Lava Jato process corruption that already was the beginning of really rolling back Brazilian democracy. And what's happening now, we'll talk next week. The threats against Glenn Greenwald, the murder and encroachment of indigenous people in the Amazon, that is a striking example of Bolsonaro, the lack of institutional protections and just striking viciousness of the Brazilian regime and a global threat to planet Earth because of what they will do to the Amazon. The Republican Party and Bolsonaro are the two greatest threats to the human species that we face. Boris Johnson doesn't have any ideological anchor. He has a little bit more sort of professionalized training than Trump, but there is this same child of privilege, plenty of racist and sexist comments and so on. But really the bottom line is just pure personal aggrandizement. And that wagon was hitched to Brexit in his case. And so here's a brief clip of Boris Johnson. And Boris Johnson had a column, a pro-Brexit column and an anti-Brexit column that he wrote. He chose the to go with Brexit, of course. Here he is in one of his first addresses, his first address to Parliament, I believe, as Prime Minister.
I think we should be very positive about Brexit, and we should not be terrified of a no-deal Brexit. We should not be terrified of coming out on WTO terms. We will make sure we look after the agriculture interest. We have deficiency payments, farm gate payments, export refunds, whatever is necessary to protect farmers. We'll make sure that just-in-time supply chains are protected. And I think a lot of the negativity about a WTO Brexit has been wildly overdone. People say that there won't be any clean drinking water and the planes won't fly, and then there won't be milk solids and glucose and whey to make Mars bars. It's all, I mean, do you really believe that? It is total nonsense. I prophesy very confidently that we will have a successful Brexit. The planes will fly, there will be clean drinking water, and there will be way for the Mars bars, because where there's a will, there's a way, as I never tire of saying.
So that's a very good example of his shtick. And this is another person that, like Trump and like Bolsonaro, even Bolsonaro, I mean, look, Bolsonaro is weird and freakish and doesn't even have the kind of bizarre charisma that Trump has. But all of these characters were treated as fun, eccentric media guys. And that's Boris's shtick too. Now, the strategy, even short of those crises, the idea of this Brexit is delusional, because Britain, first of all, is not a great empire that can impose its markets across the world anymore. Hasn't been, obviously, since the mid-20th century.
Gonna need to start building ships, boys.
Indeed. And also, this Singapore-Dubai vision that they have, first of all, they don't have the appeal as the economy shifts to Asia. And secondly, they don't have a baseline of autocracy, indentured servitude, and they have incredible achievements like the NHS, which will be attacked. So Boris Johnson and this plan is a major problem for the United Kingdom. And we haven't even addressed Ireland. What we'll talk about next week is the Lib Democrats scam, which is the middling tendency of UK politics, even though they are complicit in some of the great harm that has happened to the United Kingdom. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.